Good evening and welcome. This is Whole and Beautiful. I am Angela Oliphant, your host, and I am so glad that you all have joined me for another night of information, revelation, and change. It's going to be another phenomenal night, like I always tell you. And I am so glad that my whole and beautiful nation is joining me on tonight. When you get in, when you chime in, when you get here, make sure that you put down in the comments that I'm here. Let me know that you're out there. Let me know that you're listening. I thank you for the privilege to your vehicles and things that we're going to be doing. I do have some guests that are going to be here like next month, and I'm looking forward to talking to them, and I know you will be looking forward to hearing them. I have a whole setup. Everything is set up and ready to go, so I want you to tune in during the month of November to hear what these guests have to say, and to see the different things that we're going to be transitioning into and doing during the month of November. During this month of October, we have been just talking about different things. A lot of the shows for this month, I just realized today, have been recordings, playing back some things past for the past 10 years. She celebrated her 10-year anniversary this year of being cancer free. So, Sep, we applaud you and we thank God for you. And I'm excited about what God is doing in her life and how she is impacting so many other people's lives because of what she walked through. She is helping others to walk through, and she is just really ministering to the caretakers of people who do walk that cancer journey, because a lot of times the people who take care of those who are going through the cancer are the ones that sometimes are kind of left out there. So she looks at it from both sides. So she's taking care of the patient, and she takes care of setting things up to take care of the caregiver. So that is amazing to me, and I love it. I love the way that she has put all that together. And we went back and we talked about the little foxes, and we talked about that. We did a replay of that show where two shows came together, two hosts came together, me and Dr. Hines came together, and we did a show on little foxes, and we talked about the changes and this, and it went a different way than what we thought it was going to go, but it was a great show. Y'all have to go back and y'all have to listen to those shows that we played and that the different things that we shared. It's been a lot that has happened during the month of October. And when I was thinking about what I wanted to share with you on tonight, I wanted to share with you to talk about fall, to talk about transitioning, because a lot of transitioning has happened during the month of October. And when we look at it as in the season, you see that the leaves are starting to change colors. Different, even the air is just different, because today it got a little warm at the end of the day, but it just feels like, man, this type of warmth shouldn't be here. The warmth feels different, and I hope you understand what I'm saying, because it does. It's a different kind of warm when it's in the summer than when it's in the fall. And you still can feel that hint of like the coolness in the air, even though it's warm. It's like it's just different, but it's a transitioning time where things are starting to change, and the leaves are starting to change, and they're starting to fall off the trees, and you have all these different things that are going to be like dormant. It's just a switch, a transitioning of the seasons. And during this time, it's a transition for a lot of people. A lot of people, some people I know, go through hard times during this time of transitioning. They during this time they get into like a depression. They get into um anxiety and different things because they're looking at the weather and how it's darker longer, and it's the time is going to change thing, and it's now it's getting dark, and it's like dark around 7:30ish, and it feels like, to me, I was telling my sister, it feel like a 10:30 dark, like 11 o'clock dark, and it's really only like about 7:30, but your body starts to feel like, man, it's really late, and it's really not. And those times of just transitioning with the weather and stuff, we start to transition here with our hearts and our minds and our thought process. And you have to pay attention to your body. You have to pay attention to your thoughts. You have to pay attention to what's going on with you during this time of transition, because a lot of people don't like transition. And what is transition? It's change. It's a shift. It's you changing, it's you shifting into another place, shifting in your mindset, shifting maybe in your vision. Some people may be shifting into like another job. Sometimes the time of the season when things begins to shift, it makes you think about what went on a year ago, what went on 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Just a shift in the weather sometimes will take you to a place where in you like, you hadn't dealt with that before, but it comes back and now you see it and it's like, oh, I got to deal with this. I don't want to deal with this. So I don't like this shifting of the seasons. I don't like this time frame. And a lot of people, you will hear them say, I don't like this. I don't like this time of the year. I love fall. I love fall. I love the coolness in the air where it's not cold, but then it's not hot either. I like that coolness in the air just enough so I can put on a jacket. I don't like that winter stuff where it's like you got to put on the jacket, the hat, the gloves, the scarves, and all that other stuff. Hi, Miss A. Thank you for joining in on tonight. Good evening, Paula Obi. How are you doing? Thank you for joining in on tonight. But during this time of transitioning, some people don't like it. I love the fall. So this is a time for me to reflect on me, to look at some things and see what needs to be changed, because this time next year I don't want to be in the same place. I don't want to be thinking the same and just doing the same thing over and over again. I want change to come. And because I want that change to come, I have to start to prepare, and I have to start looking at some things and saying, okay, what can I do differently that's going to cause me to change? Because sometimes we look at ourselves and we don't see the powerful being that we are. We don't see how powerful and how anointed and how great we are. We tend to look at other people and say, oh, that person is this, or oh, that person is that. And we give them their accolades, we give them their applause, and we are just so ecstatic about that person. And during this time of transition this year, 2023, I want you to take a look at yourself and see how just important and awesome you are, because you are. And don't let this time of transition be a time of where you get all closed in, where you're pushing people away. Let it be a time where you reflect. Get out your notebook, sit down, write down some things. These are some things that I like about me. These are some things that I want to change about me. These are some things that I want to work on. Let it be a positive change. Don't let it be a negative thing that's happening, because sometimes we can look at transition and change as being negative because we think it's hurtful, and it can be hurtful because a lot of things happen, and it's like separating you from your past, or separating you from who you thought you were into who you really are. And sometimes that is a hurtful transition. Sometimes to see yourself for who you really are sometimes may kind of shock you. And you have to sit back and look at it and say, oh, yes, that's something I need to change. That's something I need to change in my attitude or something. Maybe it's something that you need to change within your physical body. Maybe it's time for you to start that exercise and be committed to it. Maybe it's time for you to start thinking differently and you realizing, I really think negative. I had to realize that about myself. That, and I realized this like years ago, that I was a real like negative person. Even though I would wear a smile on my face with people and just smile and talk and thought that I was just, this happy go lucky, peaceful person. And I'm not saying that I'm not that, but I realized that a lot of my thoughts concerning myself was really negative. And I had to begin to change the way that I was thinking. And how do I do that? You have to break the habit. That's why I tell you all, if you go back and you listen to any of my shows, a lot of times when I'm talking and it's just me, I'm telling you, stand in the mirror and say those positive things about yourself. Make sure that you're saying good things about you. Make sure that you are treating you great. And I tell you that because that's something I had to do. I had to stand in a mirror and I had to tell myself good things about myself. I had to cancel out the negative things that I would say concerning myself in my head. And I can't tell you how many people have started coming up to me and just saying really nice things concerning me. And now I hear them. Before I was like, yeah, 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 they just being nice, and I didn't receive that compliment, or I didn't receive, that applause that they were trying to give me because I was so negative in my own heart, in my own mind. And now I'm able to receive the compliment and say, oh, okay, if you see that in me, why don't I see that greatness in me? So I need to begin to see that type of greatness in me. And I had somebody tell me not too long ago, they were saying, you know what, I see you, and they related it to sports. And because and it was like, do you understand like with sports and stuff? And I was like, well, yeah. I mean, it's not, I don't sit and watch sports like I used to when I was younger. But I was like, I know some of the players. Okay, so if I'm not understanding, I'll let you know I don't understand. But they were saying, you know what, I see you as like a LeBron James or a Stephen Curry. And they were not saying it as in a like I can ball, because I cannot. I did try out like a long time ago, like back in 8th grade. I tried out for basketball. I made the first cut, y'all, but I didn't make that second cut. But they were not saying it as in me playing ball and playing basketball. They were saying it as me being like a person and me operating. And they were like, I see you operate like you are at that caliber where it's like, everybody's like, man, look at LeBron and look at all the things that he's doing. Look at that Stephen Curry's and look at all these people who play well at their sport, and they're not sitting on the bench. They out there moving and doing. And they were saying, it's like you kind of sitting back on the bench, but you don't need to be on the bench. You need to be out there in the game type deal. And I understood what they were saying. I understood fully what they were saying, because I can see things now in my mind and in my head. And I'm like, okay, God, how do I get to that? Because I know that He has that for me. And I had to start to begin to see myself as God sees me. And I had to have to transition my mind, change my mind right here, whole and beautiful information, revelation, and change. That's what we're trying to do. That's what I want you to have in your life, is the information, the revelation, and the change. And I have to have it for myself. So I had to begin to look at myself and say, hey, you know what? You need to transition the way you see yourself. You need to transition and change the way you even present yourself, because how you see yourself on the inside a lot of times is how you will present on the outside. So you need to take care of what's on the inside. And I started realizing, hey, it's time for some change. It's time for me to transition. It's time for me to do some different things. And for a while, those of you who have been watching this show, y'all saw I had my hair long. I had grew the hair, and I was like, oh yeah, I hadn't did that in a long time. And I wanted to see how it was gonna look, what was gonna happen. And I looked at it and I was like, oh, I like it. I said, I like my hair long. I like it. It's nice and everything. And then one day I was thinking, you know what? I want my shortcut back. I want it back. And it was different reasons why I went ahead and went with the shortcut. But it was a change for me. It was a transition for me. And I noticed that I was like, whoa, it was like a weight lifted off after I got it all done. I was like, oh man, I feel, a spunk back in me. I feel, different. And that was all because of a haircut, y'all. And it was like I said, it was for different reasons. I had several different reasons why it took place. But that'd be another show for another time. But it just made me think differently concerning me. And I was like, oh man, okay. I feel just like different and I feel freer. And it does something on the inside when you begin to make those changes. And a lot of times though, those changes happen on the inside way before you see it on the outside. So we need to be mindful of our transitioning time. Transition time can be a delicate time. It can be a time where you want to be sort of like that butterfly that's inside that cocoon. And I know y'all have probably heard the story over and over about people cutting open, like the cocoon before the butterfly is finished transitioning into that beautiful butterfly. And it seems like it's a struggle going on in the inside. If you ever see a cocoon before that butterfly comes out, it's like a struggle going on the inside, and you can see the movement of the cocoon and everything because there's a struggle with the change, but it's becoming something beautiful. And through that transitioning time, you can't cut that cocoon open because if you do, the butterfly's just going to die because you cut it open because you think you're trying to help it. Somebody did that and they were thinking they were trying to help the butterfly get out. But let nature take its course and it's going to come out as a beautiful butterfly. Sometimes we have to let that shift like take its course. Don't try to rush through it. Don't try to avoid it, but walk it out, live it out right. Write your vision, make it plain. Write your confessions, write your affirmations down. Continue to speak over yourself those great things, the word of God, those things that you know that you've been called to do, those things that you know are a part of your being, and that's where I'm supposed to be, and that's what I need to be doing. And continue to speak those things over yourself, even in the midst of your transition. You may not have reached your destination yet, but your journey can be powerful. You just have to hang in there. You just got to get in there. You got to work. You got to do what you need to do so that your transition, once it comes out on the other, you come out on the other side of it, it's powerful and people see it. They may not see what you're going through right now. It may be covered. And a lot of times that's where it needs to be, just like that cocoon, covered. And we don't need to be going out and telling everybody, you this happened and that's happening and that. Nope. It's a time of to me, it's like a time of God covering you, but at the same time exposing you. Think about that. Covering you, but at the same time exposing you. But who is He's exposing you to? Yourself. Allowing you to see who you are, allowing you to deal with those different things that are in there and saying, okay, this is what I need to deal with. This is good. We need to nurture this. This over here, okay, I need to trash this. This needs to go. And this right here, we need to build this up. And then we got to balance this out and we got to do that. It's just doing a self-evaluation, allowing the transition to take place and allowing it to be a great and powerful thing. It can be great, it can be powerful, but sometimes because people feel like they're out of control when transition happens, it becomes difficult because it's like, oh, I can't give up control. oh, this is feel like, that I have no control over this. And then they get an anxiety. Sometimes, like I said before, they go into depression. Why? Because they can't control what's going on. That transition time. When the seasons begin to change, you can't control that. You can't say, hey, stop it. We need to go back to summer. Okay, so don't come in here with this fall. We need to go back to summer. Not gonna happen, because you can't dictate to this earth what the earth is gonna do. It is set the way that God said it, and the seasons happen when they happen, and we can't stop them from happening. Just like in our lives, we can't stop transition. The transition may come, and the fall may come into our lives, and we may push back. We may be upset about it. We may say, you know what, I ain't dealing with none of this. I'm just not going to deal with it. And you can do that if you want to, but that doesn't change the season. That's not going to change the season in your life. It's going to have you're going to, as eventually you're going to have to deal with it. Eventually you're going to have to kind of switch some things, or you will still be in that same place and not producing the fruit that you need to produce, not producing the things that you need to produce in your life. And we need to produce, because we need to bring about a change. Where? In us first. And then you can bring change to those who are around you. You set it's like you set that temperature thing. You set that thing in your household. You set it. You can change your atmosphere when you arrive in that atmosphere. When you arrive at someone else's house, because of what you carry, you can change the whole atmosphere in the house. Have you ever been in a house or in a room, somebody walks in and it seems like they just suck all the air out the room? And you're like, oh, they come in here with that negative stuff. And, yeah, they can. And if you allow it, that can just dry up everything. Be like, oh, there they go. I know somebody who has done that like several times at gatherings and stuff, and different things that we do around. It's like, and it was just suck. It seemed like it was sucking the life out of the room. But then you have to be like, okay, I'm going to put life in here. So when I show up, the atmosphere is going to shift. When I show up, things are going to be different. Why? Because I'm showing up and I have Christ on the inside of me, and I can shift the atmosphere to where it is a whole different atmosphere, because I showed up, because I'm showing up for me, because I'm pouring into me, because I'm speaking kind words to myself. So therefore, when I come into a room, I can speak kind words to you. Because I love me, I can come in a room and begin to love on the people there and shift the whole atmosphere, begin to change the whole atmosphere, all because I'm doing the work that I need to do for me. Don't let your fall season be a season where you just give up and quit. Where you give up and you say, you know what, I don't like it. Stop saying that. Ask God to show you, what can I embrace about my fall season? What can I embrace? What is it that I need to learn within this fall season, within this time of transitioning, when my leaves are turning colors and they are falling down? What do I need to do? Because there's still life inside the tree, guys. There is still life inside the tree, even though the leaves have fallen, even though they have turned these beautiful colors, like the oranges and the reds and purples and browns. They are beautiful colors, and they begin to fall off the tree, but the tree doesn't die. The tree is still alive. So just because the leaves are falling in your life does not mean that you're dead. You're still alive. There's some things going on the inside. And when that spring comes around in your life again, when that spring comes, you're going to bloom. even more blooms than you did the previous year. You're going to be even more beautiful than you were the year before. But we have to walk out that fall season. We have to walk out that winter season when things are dormant. They look like they may not be alive, but they are still alive. They are still alive. And you are still alive. Embrace each season that you're in your life. Embrace the season. Ask the question, God, what am I to learn from this? I have learned to ask questions even in the midst of things that seem like they're chaotic, seem like it's confusion, seems like it's like, what in the world? What's the purpose of this? There is no purpose, but there's a purpose for everything. So it's like, God, what's the purpose for this? Why am I walking through this? Why is this happening? And if it's something that I need to deal with, then I need to deal with it. And I need to sit down and say, Father, help me and show me so I don't walk in this again. And sometimes we look at lessons as we learn lessons from people who are always teaching us good and the good things that they've done. Sometimes somebody has done something wrong in your life. Sometimes what they have said was wrong. The way they treated you was wrong. But even in that, you can learn a lesson. You can learn this is what not to do. How about that? This is what I should not do. I had a friend that said that because they were looking at different things with the way they grew up and different things. They said, you know what? I may not have learned what to do, but I learned what not to do. I learned how not to treat people. They learned that. So they flipped it and treated people better. They flipped it and did different things. So we have to, even in the midst of what we may have thought that was like a horrible situation, it's like, what can I learn from that? What can I share with somebody else? What can I tell somebody else? How can I flip this, and make this amazing? Because you can. I saw an interview just a couple of days ago where a guy was talking about how he grew up. He grew up in an abusive situation where his mom abused him, his dad abused him. They were not good parents. He said they were young parents because his mom had him when she was 13. His dad was young. They didn't know nothing about taking care of no babies. And so he got abused a lot. But now he has a family of his own. And he has flipped the script. His son was just talking about how great a dad he had. And this little boy is like about 9, 10 years old. And he was saying how great his dad was. He didn't want anything to happen to his dad, how much he loved his dad, and how much he just want to be like his dad when he grows up. He was just saying all these things. And his dad was like, oh my goodness, because he didn't even realize that his son felt that way about him. And then he has another son that's smaller, but that son was like clinging to him and laying on him. And it was awesome to see. But he was like, that's not the way he grew up. But that's what he's presenting now. Don't let your fall season cause you to fall. Cause you to fall and not get up. You got to get up. You got to keep moving. There's still life in you. It says in the word of God that in him I live, in him I move, in him I have my being. And some of us, even though it's fall in the air naturally, we may be going through our fall season now. Some of us may go through our fall season in the middle of summer, But whatever season you're in right now, embrace it. Allow God to do the work. See what it is that you need to do and work it. And be the best you that you can be. Because can't nobody be you. Can't nobody do you like you can do you. And you want to be the best you that you can be. I want to be the person that God created me to be. I don't want to short sell myself. I don't want to put myself down when God has lifted me up. He tells me who I am, and then I'll be like, oh no, I'm not that. He tells me that I'm fearfully and wonderfully made, but then I talk bad about myself. No, I want to say what he says. He says that I'm more than a conqueror. So what I want to do, I want to walk as more than a conqueror. I want to be that person that can walk in and just light up a room. And you know something? We have those gifts on the inside of us that we can do certain things. We have those gifts. They are like part of our being. Why are we running away from them? Why do we run away from the gifts that God already placed on the inside of you? And then you say, oh, no, I can't do that. Oh, no, that don't sound good. Oh, I ain't going to watch myself because can't stand my voice, can't stand the way I look when I do certain things. And I used to be that person. But now I can go back and I will learn from some of the shows I've done. I will learn from some of the speaking engagements I may be on. I was like, go back, listen to myself. And I'm like, oh, that was good. That was good. That encourages me. And it's amazing. And it's an awesome thing when you can go back and see yourself and yourself is encouraging yourself. That's awesome. Or you go back and you see just how much you've changed, just how much God has changed you and rearranged some things, how you are just moving different and walking more confident and being more confident about who you are and whose you are. That's what we want to do. Don't let your fall season cause you to just die out and quit. No, let it be a time of learning. Always remain teachable. Always remain teachable. Every single day you can learn something. Every single day. There is not a day that goes by that you can't learn something from that day. Even if it's something that you deem to be small, that small thing may help you in the end of a thing. You got to realize that every day we're learning. And if we look out at the world will prophesy to you. The world will talk to you. The things that are going on in the world, you'll begin to see some things. The things that are going on in you, you'll begin to see some things. When you see the seasons change, you can begin to see some things and say, oh, wow, what is God doing here? How are things flowing here? Because there's a lot of things that need to change. And we got to be open to that change. We can't fight the change. Sometimes we want to fight it with every fiber of our being because we're so used to being in the same place and doing the same things. It's familiar to us. We don't want to step out and try to do nothing different. We want to stay right where we are in our little comfort zone. And that's, I'm in my comfort. I don't want to move out of my comfort. I want to stay right here within these little lines. I have built a little box around myself and I want to stay in my little box. And sometimes you have to step outside that box and do something different. You have to step outside of that box because a lot of times you know that you can do it. It's in your head that you can, but then you be like, no, 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 no. It's too different. I can't change. Yes, you can. You can change if you want to. You can bring about that change in your life if you want it. And God will be right there rooting you on. Why? Because he placed it on the inside of you. Those visions just don't show up just to show up. Those things that you see are not just showing up just because, oh, I thought of a great idea. No, God placed it on the inside of you. It's been there. And then when you start to tap into it, you get scared and you pull back from it and you allow fear to like squander everything and push you lower than where you need to be. No, don't let fear do that to you. Face it head on and be like, I'm not going to walk in fear. I'm going to walk in faith. I'm going to step out here. Faith, stepping out on nothing, but then you land on something. You get out there and do it. Don't think that you can't. Think that you can. And in this time of transitioning and going through what we are going through, take the time to be quiet. A lot of times, like when we see these trees and the leaves fall off and the tree is just there, it looks like maybe no life is there, but you know it's life there because this tree is still standing, it's still living, it's not rotting. So what you have to do is just embrace that time and be quiet. Sometimes the transition is to be still and to be quiet. Why? So you can hear. Because sometimes we have so many things going on around us. In the summertime, what's going on? People are outside. They are having their cookouts. They are doing all their stuff. They going here, going there. They shopping. They just doing their thing. They just out in the world. They just and it's all this going on all the time. People talking, people playing their music, people just out, 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 out. Why? Because it's warm outside. Everybody got to go out, and it's so loud and everything. Sometimes during the fall time, going into the winter, people are more inside. And that's what we need to be, more inside during that transition. Just like I talked about the tree, it looks like it might be dead, but it's not. It's living, but it's dormant. It's being silent. And we need to be silent sometimes and be quiet and sit and listen. When you pray what your prayer is. Go ahead, pray to the Lord because He wants us to pray. But then when you finish that prayer, how about sit and be quiet and just listen? See if you are hearing what He's speaking to your heart. Write those words down. Write those visions down. Write those things down that the Father is speaking. He's always speaking. But do we take the time to hear? Don't let your time of transition be so chaotic that you can't hear. You want to be in a place where you can hear. So sit this weekend, guys, when you pray. Even if you don't have the words and you say, I don't even know what to pray, because this transition time, this time right here has really like thrown me for a loop. Sit. Find somewhere to sit, to be still, and to be quiet. That's why, like, when I go on vacation times, and I don't get them often, but this past month, I went on a mini vacation. And on that mini vacation, it just brought some peace. I could sit, I was like, I don't know, inside me was quiet. I didn't have all this stuff going on. Inside me was quiet. And I began to see some things. I began to hear some things. I began to like, oh man, things just some different things that if I was at home, I would be busy, 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 because when you're at home, you're like, oh, I got to do this. I got to get this done. Oh, yeah, sure. I can come do this for you. Oh, yeah, sure. Oh, yeah, yeah. But when you're out of town and you can't go do those things for those people, and you have designated that time as this is time I'm going for a vacation just to relax, I was able to think. My thoughts became clearer. I was able to hear. His voice became clearer. Take some time, even if you can't get out of the state where you are, if you can't get out of, where you are right now, find a place in your home. If you like being near the water, turn on YouTube. You can have rain. You can have a fire crackling, or you can have some waves hitting against the shore. You can pull all that up on YouTube and just let it play and be like, okay, in my head, I'm at the beach. But do what you need to do so you can sit and you can be quiet and you can listen for his voice. Because I'm telling you something, during this time of transition, God wants to do something powerful and meaningful on the inside of you that's not only going to impact your own individual life, it's going to impact the world. It's going to impact those around you. But you got to be still. You got to get that time of refreshing. You got to get that time, where you're not moving. Even with farmers, at certain points and times of the year, they have to let the ground rest. They can't keep planting because you will deplete it. You'll deplete the soil of all the richness, all the nutrients that it has. You have to give the soil some time to rest. So there's a time where there is no planting, for that soul to rest. This is your time to rest. This is your time to be quiet. This is your time to nurture yourself. This is your time of transition. Embrace it, love it, and see what God teaches you in the midst of your transition. Guys, that's my show for tonight. I am so glad that you came in and that you sat and that you listened to what was being said on tonight. If you didn't get the fullness of this, you can go back and listen tomorrow at 4 p.m. It will play again, and you can go back and listen. Let somebody else know that the show is out there. Like it, comment, share. Even on tomorrow, share it with somebody else. Share it on your page. Put it out there for somebody else to hear it, because somebody else needs to know that during this time of transition, it doesn't have to be horrible. It can be peaceful. It can be a momentous occasion. It can be something amazing and something awesome. Just embrace your transition. Okay, guys, that's what I want you to do. Your challenge for the weekend: sit, be quiet, and listen. And when we come back again next week, maybe you can tell me, hey, I was quiet. God spoke to me, and these are the things he said. Send me an email, wholebeautiful@gmail.com. I'll be looking for your emails. I want to know, did you receive something that caused your transition to be a little bit lighter than what you thought that it could be? Protect yourself. Allow God to cover you as he's exposing you to you. Love you much, guys. I will see you again right here next week, 7 p.m. on Friday for another Whole and Beautiful. Until then, my Whole and Beautiful Nation, I am Angela Oliphant, allowing you to see, hear, and know that Whole and Beautiful is not just your destination. It is most definitely your journey. Until we meet again, good night. Love you much.